My name is Michelle Espino. Touching Inshle, Anatlana Bashichin, Sinajani Dashiche, Anatlana Dashanala. Thank you for joining me today on this Lunch and Learn. Today's topic is going to be on the proposed Rio San Jose Stream System Water Rights Settlement Agreement for the Navajo Nation. And this settlement agreement is in New Mexico. And my title is Assistant Attorney General for the Water Rights Unit of the Navajo Nation Department of Justice. I am happy to give you this presentation. I know you've heard a lot about the work we've been doing on the Arizona settlement. That's not the only settlement that we are working on. We are also working on this Rio San Jose Stream System settlement, and there's also another settlement in the works, and that's in the Zuni River Basin. We also have the San Juan River Basin settlement that is still being implemented. That settlement was approved in 2009. And then we also have the Navajo-Utah Water Rights Settlement that was approved, authorized by Congress in 2020. And that settlement is still in adjudication, and we are what you would call being in the implementation phase. So we are very busy in the Water Rights Unit, but very happy to be because this means that in the end, we will have water being delivered to our Navajo Nation communities, where some of them have not had that opportunity yet. So with that, let me go ahead and begin my presentation on the Rio San Jose Stream System. And you can follow along with me in this PowerPoint, but I do want to say that in 2022, the Acoma and Laguna Pueblos, the state of New Mexico, and non-Indian water users did execute a settlement agreement quantifying the water rights of the two pueblos. The United States and the Navajo Nation are not a party to that settlement agreement at this time. And when I say the United States, I mean on behalf of the Navajo Nation as trustee. The Pueblo settlement contemplated, however, that we would reach a settlement, or that a settlement would be reached with the Navajo Nation, and that we would join their settlement at some point in the future. So for the last couple of years, maybe even beyond that, the Navajo Nation has been working with all of the parties that I just mentioned, and we've been working towards a Navajo Nation settlement in the Rio San Jose Basin. So the work that we do in the Water Rights Unit, we come from the perspective that water is life. I'm Navajo. I'm originally from Torreon chapter on the Eastern Navajo Agency. And the other attorneys in our unit are also Navajo, both of them from the Arizona side of the Navajo Nation. And we have our teachings, our Navajo teachings, that we also rely on while we do this work. And so that's kind of what this first slide addresses. So this is the map of the Navajo Nation water rights claims. This is the Navajo Nation. As you can see, we extend across the upper basin, Colorado River Basin, and the lower Colorado Basin, and then also into 3 states, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona. And you'll see that we are in the Little Colorado River Basin, which is in the lower basin. We're also parts of our Eastern Agency is in the Rio Grande Basin. And we're also from the upper basin in the San Juan River Basin in New Mexico. And then the Little Colorado River Basin does also extend into New Mexico. Oops. So the proposed Navajo Rio San Jose settlement would finally settle water rights claims of the nation and the United States as trustee for the Navajo Nation in the general stream adjudication of the Rio San Jose stream system. This adjudication is called the Kerr-McGee case, and that case actually began in 1985, and the Navajo Nation filed its claim in that case in 1987. So this has been an adjudication that has been going on for decades. And the settlement parties in our agreement would be, of course, the Navajo Nation. The To'Hajiilee Band of Indians are also included. The Pueblos of Acoma and Laguna, the U.S., the state of New Mexico, the city of Grant, the village of Milan, and 9 individual acequias and community ditches. So we did have to include all of the water users in the basin. And you'll see a map here on the right that shows the Rio San Jose Basin, and you'll see the Pueblos of Acoma and Laguna are within the basin, and then in the middle is the villages of Milan and Grant, and then you have the acequias scattered throughout the western portion of the basin. And here's another map showing the non-Indian water users that are in the basin and where they're located in relation to the Pueblos and the Navajo Nation. So in the Rio San Jose and Rio Puerco basins, I had not mentioned Rio Puerco yet. However, as you saw in the maps, or if you know the basin, To'Hajiilee that is partially in the Rio San Jose basin, but they are mostly in the Rio Puerco basin. And they do have water needs that we saw the opportunity to be able to address in the settlement. And so as part of addressing the To'Hajiilee issues, we also are including the Rio Puerco basin. And so there are some chapters that are also going to be able to benefit from the settlement that are in the Rio Puerco basin. So let's start with the Rio San Jose basin. There are 9 chapters that are located within the Rio San Jose basin, either fully or partially. And those chapters are Baca Pruitt, Casamaro Lake, Crown Point, Little Water, Mariano Lake, Rama, Smith Lake, Theru, and To'Hajiilee. And again, not all of them are completely within the basin. Some of them are just partially in the basin. And then we have 6 chapter communities located within the Rio Puerco basin. And again, some of them are just partially located, and then some of them are fully located. And so that's To'Hajiilee, Torreon, Owensino, Pueblo Pintado, White Horse Lake, Counselor, and Little Water. There are still many homes as on the Navajo Nation that are without piped water. Here is a map indicating or showing the water supply conditions in the Rio San Jose basin. You'll see on the map on the right that Baca Pruitt has approximately 150 to 200 homes that are without piped water. And then in the Rama area, there is 100 to 150 homes without piped water. And then in the Ian-Bateau and To'Hajiilee areas, we're looking at 50 to 100 homes without piped water. And the picture on the left is actually Smith Lake. And you'll see that there isn't any water in that picture of the lake. The lake is this area that we're talking about, just like many areas in the Southwest, have been drastically affected by global warming, and also the mega drought that some are calling that we're currently experiencing. And so drought conditions have definitely impacted the availability of water supplies, and it has also affected our ability to settle our water rights. I mean, we have to take into consideration these the fact that there's limited supplies of water. And in the Rio San Jose Basin, we are also dealing with poor quality water. There's a lot of arsenic and other impacts to our water supplies as a result of human actions like mining. And so that's another issue that not just in the settlements that we're dealing with, but our Department of Water Resources and others like the Indian Health Service and so forth are having to address, those types of water quality issues in order to ensure that there's clean water for these communities. So in this settlement, although it is what we're calling a fund-based settlement, there are two types of settlements, a fund-based settlement and a project-based settlement. The San Juan Basin in New Mexico settlement with the Navajo Nation, that was what we would call a project-based settlement. And that's because that the nexus or the whole crux of the settlement focused around the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project. And in exchange for the nation waiving its future claims to any additional water rights, we agreed to have the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project, along with other projects and other matters that we needed addressed. We settled for those items, and the U.S. is basically on the hook to ensure that the project is completed, that the project is built and completed, because that was their promise under the settlement agreement in the San Juan system. But now things have changed, and the U.S. is no longer putting forward, not always, not always just fund-based. Sometimes there are hybrids. But in this case, in the Rio San Jose Basin, the settlement, it would be what we're calling a fund-based. And so the United States, in exchange for the waiver of the nation's claims to future water rights claims, they would provide funding to the Navajo Nation for projects, as well as in order for us, and then the result of that would be that the Navajo Nation has the flexibility on what projects it would pursue, and also take care of those funds and would have the ability to have them invested in order to address the projects. And so, but we do have to take special care in the projects that we choose, and we have to be able to show that they're feasible projects. And we also have to show that we have data and information that would support our water claims. And so that's what this slide demonstrates, is that in the settlement, we have to put forward our water claims, and we are using past and present water uses in both the Rio San Jose and the Rio Puerco basins. And this is our water uses that are domestic, commercial, municipal, and industrial, our stock wells, our livestock consumption use, our stock ponds storage rights, our stock ponds consumptive use rights. And so part of the settlement will be taking those past and present uses into consideration for our claims. And we do have this information. Our Department of Water Resources, I think, does a good job in maintaining the records of water uses. And then also we collaborate very closely with NTUA and any other utility places that we that serve the Navajo Nation, and then also the Bureau of Reclamation. So this is a map, a Navajo Nation map of the Rio San Jose area. And I want to point out, I hope you can see my pointer here, but you'll see that our chapters are on the western side of the basin, northwestern here, where I'm using the pointer. And then also here on the southwestern area, we have a little portion of the Rama chapter. And then we move over, and then we have nothing in the middle here. And then we move over to the eastern portion, and we have a little bit of To'Hajiilee peeking into the Rio San Jose Basin. And To'Hajiilee, this portion here is the Rio Perco Basin, where most of To'Hajiilee lies in. And then up here, you'll see that there are other chapters where the this one's actually not showing the chapters such as Torreon, Encino, and Counselor. So this map indicates the well claims of the Navajo Nation. That's where these blue dots are in the Rio San Jose Basin. And then this second map shows the stock ponds and impoundments, our lakes, those claims in the Rio San Jose Basin. So what is being proposed in the settlement is listed here on this slide. And so the water rights quantities to be recognized in the settlement include 2,444 acre feet of groundwater in the two basins and 417 acre feet a year for livestock use, plus an additional storage right of 493 acre feet a year for stock ponds for the Rio San Jose Basin, with livestock water rights also for the Rio Perco Basin. And the livestock water rights for the Rio Perco Basin, we are still working on that number to make sure that we include it in the settlement. The settlement does not impact Alati water rights. So featured water demands that have been negotiated is that the Navajo Nation would have the right to divert and consume 1,300 acre feet a year for domestic, commercial, municipal, and industrial use. And this would be for the Navajo Nation, Rio San Jose, and Rio Perco basins. And this number was negotiated with the other tribes as well. And so they will be receiving the same amount of future water demands. So why are we settling? If you watched any of our previous public education presentations, we do talk about litigation versus settlement. And we know that if we continue to litigate, that yes, we would ultimately end up with a quantification of our water rights. However, that's what we would get. It does not come with funding for infrastructure development. It would be a decree from the court stating what our quantified water rights are. And because of the need on the Navajo Nation for water in our communities, the Navajo Nation is seeing the benefit of entering into settlements. Plus, if we continue the litigation, it is costly on its own as well. Litigation for all of the nation's water rights claims is very, very expensive. So in this proposed settlement for the San Juan or Rio San Jose Basin, we're looking at a total amount of $243,271,000. And what would that pay for? So again, this is a fund-based settlement. If this is authorized and appropriated by Congress, then and we receive these funds, the Navajo Nation would, the plans we've proposed is that we would fund projects for regional transmission water lines and Navajo community connections, wastewater development, to provide chlorination stations where there aren't any in some of our communities, water hauling stations, operation and maintenance trust fund. So this would cover operation and maintenance costs. And this is a very important matter, because this is where if we get that assistance, we would be able to keep our the utility rates down for the utility customers. So O&M is what we call it, operation and maintenance, is very important, and it's very costly. Water line extensions and bathroom additions, livestock water projects, sanitation projects, and also a water acquisition fund. The water acquisition fund is intended to purchase water rights or acquire water rights in the eastern area of the Rio San Jose Basin and the Rio Puerco Basin. We currently are leasing water for the To'Hajiilee community from the Jicarilla Apache Nation. And we have a 10-year lease, and that provides water through a pipeline that is currently being constructed and will be operated by the Albuquerque-Bernalillo Water Authority. And this is to ensure that To'Hajiilee gets fresh, clean water, potable water. As I mentioned before, what we're finding in these basins is water that is not of the best quality. And in order to, at this time, as a result of global warming, human action, we are seeing that in order to provide that fresh, clean water to our Navajo communities, we're going to have to import it in. So we are importing water to To'Hajiilee, and that's already in the works even before the settlement is finalized, or wasn't even part of the settlement, but now it is, so that we can ensure a permanent source for the To'Hajiilee community. And it's somewhat similar. Our Department of Water Resources and even my predecessors had to work creatively to find ways in these settlements to serve our Navajo communities that are without water. So I mentioned the San Juan River Basin settlement that was entered into 2009. That settlement is actually, we're able to pipe water through that settlement, through that project, to communities that are in the Rio Puerco Basin, to in what we're calling the Cutter Lateral Pipeline and the reservoir. And so that water is serving communities that had not been served before. And so again, that's an example of importing water to serve our Navajo communities. And we're finding, that this is a way to hopefully, in a more quicker fashion, bring water to the communities that are in need, and that it is fresh, quality water, clean water for our Navajo people. So that's the projects that we're contemplating for this proposed settlement. Here is the map of the Navajo Nation, and I showed this a little bit earlier, but this shows the entire Navajo Nation. And again, it's the different colors indicate Navajo Nation homes that are without piped water access. And in the red color, those areas have more than 200 homes without piped water. And then the orange is 150 to 200 without water. The yellow is 100 to 150. And then it goes down to the greenish color, which is 50 to 100. And then you'll see the gray color being 0 to 50. And you'll see that on the New Mexico side, we have more homes being served or having piped water than on the western side. And I believe that this is a result of the settlement that was entered into by the nation back in 2009. And as you know, if you drive through the Navajo Nation, you see that the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project is still being constructed. And so hopefully we'll see, these numbers go down even more so. And this is what we call the global water, or the vision for the Navajo Nation. This map was created by the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority, and this is a map put together not just by NTUA, but Navajo leadership, Navajo communities, those that work hard on these Navajo water issues. These are plans that have been talked about for decades, and we're starting to see it become a reality. And we want to see it become a total reality for the Navajo Nation. So the blue lines are transmission lines, water being served in the local communities now by NTUA. And you'll see a green line on the right side of the map. And this is the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project. And it is green because it is pending construction, and some parts of it are actually completed. And then these red lines here are plans for future projects. And you'll see up here in Utah, this will probably become a reality, hopefully in the near future, sooner than later, as a result of our settlement with Utah. And then we are also working on the Arizona settlement. And so these projects are also being contemplated as part of the work that we're doing in the Arizona settlement. We want funding to be able to complete these projects so that all of these communities can be served. All of these little black dots that you see are homes without water. So these are communities that have homes that are lacking piped water. And so hopefully once we complete all of these settlements, which I think is definitely feasible, we will be able to start serving all of these communities and see these red lines turn to green and blue, which means they're completed, and these dots going away, and the red lines going away as well. So the water rights team, and the water rights team, who are they? They are those of us that are in the water rights unit, the lawyers, and also our Department of Water Resources. Our our technical experts. So we also have a water management branch that is under the Department of Water Resources, and we have quite a good size team to do all of this work. This is a lot of work that's happening. And we're kind of all split up right now, working on these different settlements. And also, we're also still working on the settlements that have been entered into, because we're still in the implementation phases. But one thing that this team saw as important especially under the leadership of our Attorney General, Ethel Branch, and President Nygren, as well as our speaker, Crystalline Curley, is that we need to inform and let the public know, the Navajo public know, what is happening in terms of water rights. And I'm very grateful that they have taken that leadership role to ensure that we educate the public on all of these water rights matters. So I hope that we are giving you the information that you need to understand, what's happening. And bottom line, our hope is that water will be delivered in all of the Navajo Nation communities much sooner than later. So we've had public education meetings starting back in December and this slide is just showing the ones that we've had in New Mexico. So we had one December 20th at the Iambacho chapter. And then January 12th, we had a presentation at Navajo Technical University. And then on January 26th, we presented before the Eastern Agency Council at Theru chapter. And we are going to have a few more meetings. On April 6th from 12 to 4 p.m., we will be having a meeting at Torreon Star Lake chapter. And the chapters surrounding Torreon Star Lake are encouraged to also attend, although it's at Torreon, it's not just for Torreon. And then we have the April 7th meeting at To'Hajiilee chapter. And again, if you missed the Torreon one and you're in the Albuquerque area, To'Hajiilee area, you are more than welcome to attend the one at To'Hajiilee chapter. And then on April 13th, we will have one of our meetings at the Baka Pruitt chapter. And again, we welcome all of the surrounding communities chapters to also attend this meeting that we're going to have. And lunch will be served. We've had a caterer called Biddy Chitty, who's been providing lunch at these meetings. And I know that the communities have very much been enjoying having lunch served while listening to a very intense and dense information presentation. So with that, I am going to answer any questions or any comments. You can put them in the Facebook feeds, or I think that's the only way that we can get questions or comments. But I also want to let you know that you can learn more about our water rights work. We do have these weekly Facebook Live updates, and they are posted on several Facebook pages and on YouTube. And I know that they're posted on the President's Facebook page, on the Attorney General's Facebook page, and on the Water Rights Commission's Facebook page. The Water Rights Commission, they do have monthly meetings by law, and they are open to the public. And so if you want to attend the Water Rights Commission monthly meetings, you are more than welcome to. The Water Rights Unit from DOJ, we give a monthly report, and so does the Department of Water Resources. And we give a report to tell the commission what our activities have been, and this goes on a monthly basis. So there is an opportunity to see what the lawyers and the technical experts are working on water rights if you attend any of these monthly meetings. And the Water Rights Commission's website has a lot of very good information. And so please visit their website. We also have been issuing press releases, and having these public education meetings and events. And we are always happy to be invited out to your community to give presentations. We've had a few invites, and we responded, and we went out and we gave some presentations. One that I'm thinking of is in Pinon, and then one in Theru chapter. So we are trying to do our best to get out there. And I know that our public education meetings have expanded to other communities as well. And so if you're interested, just make contact with the Water Rights Commission or with any of us at the Department of Justice's Water Rights Unit. So you have me listed, Michelle Espino, and with my email address. And then we also have Dwight Witherspoon, who is a former council delegate and turned attorney, and we're happy to have him in the Water Rights Unit. And then we have MacArthur Stant, who's also an attorney, and he is also Navajo in our Water Rights Unit. So these are our email addresses. And then on the left side is the Navajo Nation Department of Justice's website address as well. And then this is our Navajo Nation Water Rights Commission. This is their website, and this is where I said there's a lot of really good information posted. And our commissioners right now are Jolynn Ashley, who's the chair, and she also represents the Western Agency. Earl Tooley, who's the vice chair, and he represents Chinle Agency. Lorenzo Bates, who's the Northern Agency Commissioner and former Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council. And Dr. Lonnie Sinigini, who is the Eastern Agency Commissioner, and she has her PhD in hydrology. This is our team from the Navajo Nation Department of Water Resources. Jason John is the director, Robert Kirk is a senior hydrologist, and Dr. Crystal Tully Cordova is a principal hydrologist. So if you've seen any of our other presentations and gone to our events, you'll see that all of these individuals that I've named so far have participated. So again, I thank you for your time, and let me see if we have any questions or comments. We have no questions or comments. So with that, I think we're done with this presentation, and I thank you very much for joining me today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or anyone in the Water Rights Unit or the Water Rights Commission, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. And with that, have a very good day. Hagoan net.